Welcome to Acolyte's third installment of Lyte Lunch. We're sitting here with Shawn Kaufman, who works with CS Global as their
Executive Director of Lighting.
Executive Director of Lighting, thank you, who helped us. Actually, I've known him for about over 6 years now. He's one of the first people I've met when I entered Acolyte and the LED lighting industry. Really helped me grow both personally and professionally in this industry. And with his company's help, we developed the SFK units, which we're going to talk to you about today. So first off, can you describe your background, how you got into the industry, a little bit about what you do, and and CS Global itself?
Sure. I started doing lighting in high school and doing all of shows in high school, and then I got a scholarship in high school and was told that I should go on and do a profession in it. And
where'd you end up going?
Eventually going to Purchase College and getting a degree in lighting design. And then after that started working in fashion, in television, in theater, opera, really running the gamut of genres and styles of live events. And then eventually landed doing fashion and televisions with a couple of different companies. And then ended up at CS Global about, now it's 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So CS Lighting is now is known as their lighting design in realms of fashion, theater, TV events, print, film, among others. What else do you do there? Who are the clients that you typically work with? The size of the shows?
The size of the shows really evolves. I mean, it's anywhere from 2 or 3 light event. We do a number of film shoots for our own divisions. We also do special events. So it ranges anything from like a 2 or 3 light film shoot to 500, 2,000 light show, depending on really what it is. That could be a special event, it could be a concert, it could be a fashion show. Some of the clients that we have are Tom Ford, QVC, Marchesa, Zach Posen, Estee Lauder. So it really ranges from beauty clients to fashion clients to television. So
understood. And so of all of those shows, you're certainly using a lot of fixtures.
Yeah.
So when we met, probably 5 years ago, we started developing the first iteration of the SFK because you wanted to fill a gap in, honestly, probably thousands of lights that you're using at the shows. You know, from all different ranges of little spotlights, floodlights, etc., theatrical grade, for refresh rates and everything. So how did the necessity for the SFK come about? And what is it about this fixture what is it doing that's filling all these other gaps that the fixtures can't?
Well, it started actually with us trying to fill a need for a wall washer replacement. We were going into MoMA, for example, and needing to light 200 feet of wall. And in terms of cost effectiveness, we weren't able to really find a fixture that was wall washing that would fit in our budget, would fit in the time frame. And I mean, again, that was almost 6 or 7 years ago. So we really needed to find something that, in terms of time, in terms of ease of use, in terms of the color temperature, would really give us a wide range and ease of installation.
Gotcha.
So then we really decided that at first we were using 2-foot and 4-foot fluorescent tubes. And
were
that
you
wasn't
gelling
really
them at all? Like how are you adjusting the intensities of them to get what you needed? Or is it just basically a static on fluorescent with a gel on it to get a color?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was, is that we were using static fluorescence. And we didn't have, if we were using dimming, it wasn't going to be cost effective.
Gotcha.
And time frame wise, we weren't really able to put in a dimmer or to really work in that way. So it made more sense to find something that we could use that was an LED and be able to color change it on the fly.
Gotcha.
The big issue with the fluorescence, like you were saying, is the client would come in and look at the fluorescent tubes and say, yeah, that's the purple that I was looking for, or it is purple, but it's not the purple I was looking for. Or it's, or one person was saying that we wanted to do it in purple, but actually in talking to everybody about the theme of the show, it's really red, or it's really blue, or it's white, and trying to change that on the fly at midnight
probably
is not going to be possible. And trying to gel 200 or 300 feet of fluorescent overnight at 2 a.m., you don't really have that on hand unless you really feel like you know that they're going to change to that color.
Gotcha. So what's the dimming of fluorescence because of everything that it is? Do you find that when you dim a fluorescent down, does it have any effect on the refresh rate? And then when you're putting it on film, Are you seeing the banding that you typically see in that, or are you using a kind of a theatrical grade?
Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
doing it for television or
Okay.
you're doing it for film, you're using a theatrical grade dimmer, and you're really paying attention to all of that.
Gotcha.
Nowadays, it's a lot easier to do that dimming, but when we were first working on trying to create the SFK, that didn't exist. I
Gotcha.
mean, it was really expensive to go that route, and
Got it.
for the shows that we were doing, the type of shows, for the number of pieces that we were needing, we couldn't do that. So.
Understood. So, and also with using a T8, which is obviously omnidirectional, and you have reflectors and everything, how did you notice the difference between using a T8 for trying to wash 200 feet versus LED, which really gives you a more focused light of, say, 160-degree beam angle, which would probably allow you to put it right against this wall and get more height out of it?
Yeah, we actually have less of a drop off with the SFK versus a fluorescent tube. We don't see such a hot line at the beginning and then such a drop off.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
it allows us a wider color
Okay.
range, obviously.
Well, let's talk about the first version of the SFK, which it's a bit of a Frankenstein model right now. This was the initial prototype. I think we built about 150 for you
Yeah.
originally, and even as we built this, the first version doesn't even exist anymore. We've changed it since.
We've changed it a lot.
Yeah. I remember some of the pitfalls that we had originally where we were using a RGB controller, DMX control in the start, and then we were actually putting amplifiers in each unit,
Yeah.
and then daisy chained the amplifiers. And what do we find? That the amplifiers were actually boosting the signal and basically distorting the control signal from end unit to unit to unit. So if we lined maybe 20 of these up, zigzag and serpentining next to each other, the first unit's red would look different than the last unit's
Yeah.
red, which would be maybe a little bit more pink, maybe even green, because that signal is being amplified up. So we basically decided to put an individual DMX interface into each unit.
Yep.
We have an onboard driver, so we have AC in and out, so you can daisy chain the powers on each one.
Yep.
We also have a 12 volt in, which is just for power a single unit. And then we have the DMX that goes in and out. So we can
Yeah.
basically end-to-end connect as many units as we want. Well, probably up to limitations of DMX, but
Yeah, so up to 33 roughly.
33 units.
Yep.
And so we came out with a 2-inch model. We used an aluminum channel as a heat sink, and we actually run 3 rows of RGB ribbon light and 2 rows of our variable white. So the RGB is your standard red, green, blue, 16 million color options there. And then we have the variable white options, which we go from about 2400 K Kelvin to 6000 K Kelvin. And now we're able to mix, I mean, I don't even know the permutations of that. But,
Yeah, I don't even know.
yeah, and
Haven't even
math
looked at
wasn't
it.
my strong suit, so I haven't done that since high school. But anyway, and then we added the standoff blocks for one to allow the wires to go through them and protect the wires when they're on a level surface. But we also put in what are these, half-inch
Half-inch rib nuts, yeah.
riv nuts into the aluminum blocks, so you can mount these to what type of.
Well, it's a half-inch clamp, or sorry, not a half-inch clamp, but a half cheeseboro, a C-clamp, and really anything else you need. You can put a piece of threaded rod on either side and then mate it to anything you really need to.
And why is that important for the applications that you do?
Well, that gives us the ability to either put feet on it or to
So you
mount
can
it to
mount
pipe.
You know, up like this
Yeah.
as a wash. If you're doing even something like what we're doing right now, you could actually put a bunch of these as the fill light and then dial in the right color temperature to match skin tones, you know, exterior walls, different surfaces, right?
We've used that a number of times as a Kino flow replacement. So we've stacked them 4 high and mixed in the color temperature and then adjusted that on camera and used it as essentially a one bank Kino flow, but color changing. So, you know, we could range anywhere from the 6000 to the warm white. So
Great. So,
that allowed us, putting in these rib nuts on either end allowed us to either put C-clamps on it, hang it to a pipe, use it as a eye candy effect unit, or use it as a Kino for a direct fill application, and then removing that to do it as a floor mounted unit. Also, just using a regular half-inch threaded bolt, we've been able to use it inside of light boxes and use it for that application.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. And then on top of all of that, we covered the whole entire unit in a thick heat shrink just as a protective layer. And then that's what really allowed us to segue into the bigger version. And just a little bit of a side note, we have the DMX interface on board of each unit. This allows us to address each fixture individually, and this is probably important because if you lined up maybe 200 of these end to end and your client wanted to do, instead of having all of them change at once, you could actually do a chase. You could have it go from red to green to blue and zigzag back and forth, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And cool. So a little bit about the iteration 2 of the SFK. We now have an aluminum extrusion with a milky lens that we're working on different opacities for you, how I believe. We kept the same basic footprint of the unit with a 2-foot unit still, but we upgraded some of our connectors. We have a 12-volt noise-strict connection as an input now. We still have our AC in and DMX in, and then we have our AC out and DMX out. But a little bit of the technical side of this is you and JR developed a relay that would actually allow you to both charge your batteries, that's if you're plugged into the AC, because this will then charge the
lithium ion
batteries, or vice versa if you had the AC plugged in and then you had the battery plugged in, it will automatically shut off. Right? It'll automatically shut off the DC side.
Right.
So the DC side is not drawing anything when AC is detected. And I think that's a pretty big advancement to typical things, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely helpful from there because at one point, if we plugged in both ends and, you would actually be outputting 12 volt on that unit, which in some ways in the past we've used that where we plugged in the AC and then we had the 12 volt live, so it allowed us to put like an accent light or something feeding off of the
iteration 3 will add a switch for you then.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's plug this in and see how it works. There's your end, and I have mine. Relatively easy process. We have the DMX in and out.
I'm plugging it into
the controller. So what type of controller is this? It just seems typical controllers is the DMX system. So basically any DMX 512 system will work with this.
Yeah. So this is just a little 8-channel controller.
And so we just have some sliders on this, right?
Yep.
And we are not getting power in right now.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to wait because of the relay. So there we go. All right, and there's the RGB, red, green, blue, and then here's the cool white, and then here's the warm white.
Great. So what? Again, we talked about some of the jobs that we've done with this, but that is a phenomenal color range that we have.
Yep.
Why do you find that to be so important for what you're doing? Like, what are the actual applications where you need, because a lot of fixtures up until the point of this were RGB. RGB white really wasn't a thing when we started developing this.
Yeah.
And in general, and we went a step above and we added in the warm white and the cool white. Typically when an RGB white existed, you're basically just getting one of those color temperatures.
Yeah.
So by adding in the warm white and cool white along with the RGB, how do you typically use that?
It allowed us to smooth out the color temperatures in terms of getting the 4,000, 6,000, the warm whites that allowed us to tone that a little bit more, to give us a warmer range. The red and the green, obviously, when you're mixing those together to get a warm white, you weren't really getting a good warm white. So being able to mix in the warm white and the cool white allowed us to tone that and tune that even more than we were able to in the past. And with this fixture as opposed to just RGB fixtures, you wouldn't be able to see that. You weren't seeing a really rich warm white. One of the things that I've never been able to mix is like a 4,000, and actually we've used a 4,000 degree a lot more in the past few years, just because LED technology in lamps and in fixtures, a lot of times when you're doing retail, the 4,000 is color temperature that you want to use to get a good color rendering on all of your clothing. Yeah. So with the SFK, we wanted to mimic that and be able to hit a 4,000 for that look.
And so talking a little about reflective light, I'm sure you deal a lot where your sets or whatever you're trying to light, there may be a lot of green in there, a lot of red, a lot of these tones that are with traditional lighting or even traditional just RGB lighting, you won't have the ability, like you're basically going to pull those colors out of whatever surface it will be. And so you have the ability with this to basically lessen those colors and then enhance exactly what you're doing with these to make sure that the right object is being lit.
So if we're too green, then obviously we were able to just go to a warmer color and then just lose those green tones and get a pastel color. A lot of times the pastel colors is something that you weren't able to get with an RGB, so the pastels helped as well.
One job that I know we worked on where this comes to mind is the USS Intrepid, where you helped us basically design the fixture design of which fixture we're going to use and do that. And for that, we used an RGB fixture only, not the SFK unit. It was our high power exterior linear unit. And with that job, part of the issue we had with actually lighting the ship when they wanted a white was because the whole entire ship was gray, you ended up dialing in more of a purple. So I could see if we had an added white, especially warm white and cool white to that application, we would then be able to really get a much richer white out of that.
Exactly.
Right?
And tone the gray more.
Yeah. And now, so part of the other thing that this gives you, at least from our photometric tests and everything that we've done with our variable white red ribbon light product, which I'm sure comes into play here, is a CRI value. When we did photometric tests through the third-party systems, we found that we almost had a CRI of basically 100 when we brought red into our whites. So even not even counting that you have the green and the blue here, if you were just using, some warm white or a cool white, and you're able to bring that red in a little bit, that probably helps, the models that you're lighting, the skin tones, everything else, right? And so it's a perfect fixture for doing the kind of theatrical stuff. So what is the whole process, I guess? We started on this essentially 5 years ago, right? Okay. And
then evolved it over the years, and then finally came out with a fixture, I would say, a year ago?
Probably a year ago since we put this into production. I think we're still gearing up, maybe have iteration 3, some minor tweaks and everything that we found since you had it in the field. How you want to use it. So how many of these units do you have now?
We have 45 of them.
45. And they're constantly on the road?
Yeah, they're pretty busy.
So Shawn, we've been talking about this fixture. I think it's time we show everybody some of the application photos you have. Yeah. So up on the screen here, I believe this is MoMA, right? And this is the job you're talking about where you wanted to wash 200 feet of wall with an SFK fixture.
Yeah, this was the start of the SFK, really, is why we needed it and then how we evolved it. We had a short time frame, about 8 hours to do the whole install. So we couldn't use half of that time to lay down a fixture along the walls when we had a number of other things to do.
And how much prep time do you typically have for these jobs?
It
Where
varies.
you have to source fixtures? Because I know you warehouse, obviously you have 45 of these, you have 150s of these. I don't know how many other fixtures you have, but like if you know that you have to go into a show and you only have 8 hours to do a build-in, like when you're sourcing fixtures from all over the place, are you given months to do this, or are you given like weeks, and then you have to call around rushing for whole series of fixtures?
Usually for an event, we have maybe 2 or 3 week lead time. We have probably 8 to 16 hours of prep time where we're actually touching the fixtures and working on the fixtures.
Got it.
So,
and how big is the crew that will handle an install like this?
Install like this, due to the time frame, was probably around 12 to 15 people.
Wow.
So.
Okay. The next one we have, I believe these are still MoMA.
Yeah, this is just outside, inside of the garden.
And
those are the your little LEDs inside of the pond, the submersible fixtures as well. Yeah.
Cool. This one is another view of that image.
Yeah.
This is in Shanghai, correct?
Yep. This is in Shanghai, lighting a Confucian temple, and we have the SFKs battery operated in each area. They have a little masker that we built, and
wow. Gorgeous, really gorgeous job.
Thanks.
And this is actually where the first time you used these ones, right? Because we were shipping these fixtures directly from our Shenzhen factory to you in Shanghai.
Yep.
Was there a bit of a headache getting it through all the borders, everything? Is it?
No, I think that was actually pretty easy. It was time frame and for you guys trying to get them built and up and running for this event.
If you ever work with Shawn in the future, you'll know that everything is at the last minute. So
if you work in the industry, you'll realize that everything is last minute, I think.
That's one of the with Acolyte, we've always tried to be the 11th hour company. I think that's how we kind of grew to this, and working with you, why we've always constantly kind of had this relationship, because hey, I need 20 feet of ribbon light, or I need this fixture, this fixture, this fixture. What can you guys do? And boom, we're able to kind of deliver it for you. So what about the Shanghai job in total? Because this is obviously on another continent, which you probably are doing a bunch of your jobs globally now, because CS is a global company.
Yep.
Any highlights of this? Or any pitfalls? Well,
I think it was just the fact that we were working in 3 different locations around Shanghai overnight. This event we had 2 days to set up. I think the next picture that you have is yeah, it's just showing that this is overnight. There was a monsoon that hit at the same time. So we actually had, between this venue and the last venue, we actually had to flip-flop the venues because one was inside, one was outside. So this venue was supposed to be the second venue. It was ready one day earlier, and obviously the outside venue, the Confucian Temple, was not ready. So it was the highlight of the craziness of switching that.
Because of the monsoon hitting, did you already load in and then realize that, oh, we have to unload all of these lights and set up in under pretty much a short amount of time?
Yeah, we had to remove most of the fixtures from the Confucian Temple, brought a number of them in here, did this event, and then unloaded them, or collected all of them and then brought them to the other venue.
Got it. And so one thing we're not showing here are the road cases we also made for you.
Yeah.
So we have made, Shawn, cases that look like this, just a bit bigger. As you can see next to us, these are Acolyte cases, but they are able to hold, is it 6 units?
It's 5 units per shelf, and it's 4 shelves high, so 20 units.
And has the wheels on it. You could easily transport these things through airports, shipping them basically completely in their units. You don't have to crate them up at all, right?
And they're stackable.
Stackable. Well, that's an important part, isn't it?
Yep.
Some of the other light fixtures we do with you as well, we have our anvil fixture. Luckily, I just happen to have one right here. So tell us a bit about this fixture. I'll start. It's a wireless DMX unit that is battery built in, DMX in and out. Programmable, just some presets on it. But I think the most important part of it is the wireless DMX part and the being battery operated. And
it's a tri-RGB LED chip on each one. So that allows us the color mix at the LED as opposed to on the whole fixture. So the color mixing is a lot better than on some other fixtures.
Yeah, because normally when you have like a regular RGB fixture where you have red, green, blue, you gotta get that scalloping for the first 12 inches where it's actually mixing in the air. With this unit,
and here
right out of the box,
white, obviously that helps you right at the fixture to get a really good white. A lot of our events are white, so it's definitely a fixture that we were looking at to make sure that we were getting a beautiful white color mix out of it. So,
wonderful.
And these columns are about 80 feet tall, so you can see we're actually still lighting the ceiling at 80 feet high.
So why don't you tell us about this next job that you did? And
this is a party inside of the Frick. So we were able to uplight all the walls using SFKs, and then a battery operated unit lighting up the columns, and then more SFKs lighting up the fountain there.
Wow.
So.
Oh, awesome. And this one, that's a CeeLo Green. I guess you guys did an entertainment or a show.
Yep.
It's
a private event, yeah.
Very nice.
But that's an Acolyte unit as well.
Oh, that's our old HD24, isn't it?
Yep, exactly.
Great unit, very powerful, had wireless DMX built into it.
Yep.
And then we get into more, outside of using the SFK that CS Global does, we do more of kind of accent lighting as well.
Exactly.
And so this is, you're showing basically cove lighting, the toe kick lighting. You have our ribbon light underneath that, right?
Yep.
And that is a very versatile product. I mean, you've been using that since as long as I can remember, right?
Yeah,
that's how it got into this fixture.
Yeah.
And then you also do some private residence jobs.
Yep.
So this
is ribbon light throughout the whole residence. Yep.
Fantastic job, by the way. And this is a penthouse in New York City,
yes,
if I'm correct. And wonderful, wonderful job. So all of this is ribbon light, static white, variable white, amber mixed. You have it on a control system, DMX
on
as
a
well.
Lutron control system.
Lutron control system. So Shawn, knowing you, there are a lot of the next evolution is coming to this fixture. What is, from your kind of client research and market research that you've done, you've rented it out a lot, what are you hearing from the people about the fixture?
Well, we do rent it out a number of times, and just talking to a few people, they're saying that they want to have some type of foot to tilt it, so that way we can direct the light mostly out of people's eyes, not really so that way you can adjust the beam angle, but to direct the light a little bit more. So we're talking about doing a tiltable feet on either side, or another mounting plate on either side to allow you to do more flush mount, or to have a connection on the feet rather than trying to get underneath to attach it with a bolt.
Gotcha. So and then also probably some rubber bumpers so they don't get too banged up when shipping and everything.
Yep. Yeah, for when it's special events, when you're using it that way, putting a rubber bumper on the sides, so that way the edges stay nice and clean.
Now, we don't have it here, but I remember you telling me that you developed a special kind of valance for this.
Yeah.
Out of, what was the material again?
It's a plastic. It's a plastic extrusion. It's called Sintra. We worked with a number of scenic companies to develop a modular masking system for it. So we have it anywhere from 2 foot to, I think, 7 foot pieces that tongue and groove together and can make long masking pieces.
Gotcha. And this is like something you'd use at the MoMA when you were doing the long run, so
Exactly.
people weren't seeing a raw fixture. It was kind of like an L bracket, and then you have a dome lens that goes over that.
Exactly.
And you find that kind of domed lens, which is probably just like a
Extruded piece of plexi. Essentially, it's a frosted plexi, similar to what we have on the as the lens.
Does that diffuse the light at all too much, or you find that you still get a good throw with it?
It's negligible.
Okay.
We're not seeing any loss in output when we put that on. It's just to distort the view. So if someone's seeing a direct view of the fixtures inside of the masking, they're not actually able to look inside and see the pieces.
Understood. Well, hey, thank you very much.
Sure, my pleasure.
For your time today. Again, my name is Alex, Hacklight LED. This is Shawn Kaufman at CS Global. And if you have any questions, please, where can they contact you?
They can email me at lighting@csglobalgroup.com.